What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Swift tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at how to create a custom alert fully implemented with our own code. So no frameworks, none of that stuff. So basically what we're going to create is something like this. So we'll have the background dull out with a nice fade in animation. We'll have our alert come in from the top. And of course, when we hit our button, we'll have the alert swipe down to animate and disappear, and we will fade out the background. So what's nice is we get the animation of our choice, and I'm a big fan of these custom fly-in windows and views. We can also change the border, the corner radius, and all that jazz. So we'll take a look at a simple implementation of how to do this, make it reusable, and how to present it. So that said, make sure you smash that like button below as always for the YouTube algorithm. Helps out the video quite a bit, helps me create more videos for all of you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Get Xcode ready, get excited. Let's jump right in. Quick pause before we get into the video. If you haven't seen it already, I am hard at work putting together iOSacademy.io, a community where all of us iOS engineers can come together, learn how to build some of the top apps like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, in addition to interview prep to land some of these iOS roles at top tech companies. So if you're interested in the free and premium content to come, head on over to iOSacademy.io and enter your email address in the waitlist form, and you will be notified as content becomes available. That said, let's get into the video. All right, so we're going to get started by creating a new project. We're going to stick to a single view application template, and let's call this project my custom alert. Save it to our desktop, and let's jump right in. So for this project, we're not going to be bringing in any third-party frameworks. We're going to do everything in vanilla Swift with our own code. So before we actually get into any implementation, let's select the simulator up here and just hit Command R to build and run. Should load up our empty application over here. And let's go to our view controller, and we're going to start by adding a IB outlet and an IB action to a button. And once we hit that button, we're going to present our custom alert. So let's add our outlet. We'll call it my button. And let's also add an action. We'll call it did tap button. And we're going to do stuff in here. And let's also style this button a little bit in code. And then we'll go hook it up in the storyboard. So let's give this guy a background color of link. And we're going to give it a title color of white for the normal state. We are also going to set a title. And we'll say show alert. And that'll also be for normal. And that's good enough for now. Let's head on over to our main.storyboard file. Grab a UI button from your menu of items. Drag it on in. And come up here, right click. Drag from my button outlet to your button. And your action to the button. Hit touch up inside. And then let's also add some constraints to the button by selecting it, hitting the menu down here, and we're going to say 100 from the top, 20 from the left, 20 from the right, and the bottom we'll leave as is. Instead, we're going to set a height to it, and let's do something like 52. Add the 4 constraints, and let's just hit Command R to make sure our button shows up, and then we'll jump on in to the custom alert. Okay, cool, perfect. So there's a lot of ways to design a custom alert. The way that I'm going to design it is the way that I've done it in my own apps, the way that I think is most visually appealing. And that is when we click on a button, or whenever we want to show the alert rather, we are going to use a fade in animation to bring in a dimmed background view. And the alert is going to swipe down from the bottom, animate in, and then when we hit like an OK button in it or whatever, it's going to go away by flying down to the bottom. So I've seen other apps do this before too. The one that comes to mind right now is dating apps do this quite a bit for like upsell offers, if you're familiar. But anyways, let's just build it and you guys will get what I mean. So I'm going to build the object in here, but what we want to do is create an object that allows us to show this alert despite what view controller we're on, because we don't want this custom alert functionality to be tied to one controller. If we're using it, we want it to be app-wide. So we are going to create a class called let's call it myAlert. And in here, we essentially want one function, and what we're going to call it is a static func show alert with title. So it'll take a title and a message on, or let's just call it, let's do on view controller, and we're going to pass in the view controller on which we want to show this alert. And essentially what we want to do, like I mentioned, is show the background being dulled out and then this view flying in. So what we want to do is say let background view. Actually, let's drop the static on this. And what we're going to do is let's create two UI elements in here like so. So we're going to say let background view is a UI view. And we're going to say background view is a UI view. And let's change the background color of this to be black. And we're going to say the alpha of it, so the transparency, let's say 0.6. And we can always adjust this as we want later. And we're going to return a background view. And let's see. So actually, let's make this 0 because initially we want the background view to be invisible and we're going to animate it in. And what I'll do here is I'm going to create a struct called constants. And in here we'll have a background alpha 2. And we want this to be a CG float, I believe. I believe alpha is a CG float. Yep, it's a CG float. And we're going to assign this to be the target that we want to animate to, which will be 0.6. And let's see, what else do we need? We also need our view, of course, which will serve as the alert. So we're going to say private let alert view is also a UI view. And we're going to initialize that view in here. We'll say alert, alert dot background color, we'll say is white. We're also going to round the corners of said alert. So we want to adjust some of the layer properties for the view. So we're going to say masks to bounds. We also want to say corner radius is 12. And we could give it a border and such, but we'll skip that for now. And we're going to return the alert. And let's see, what else do we need? We also need a label and all that jazz in the button, but we can do that in the function here. The reason we dropped the static and we're putting these two UI elements as global properties in this class is so we can reference them when the user hits the button to dismiss. If we created the properties locally in the function, the dismiss function would have no way to basically get references to these to animate them out. So that said, let's add a function called dismiss alert. It's lowercase this l. And let's start with this show alert function. So as I mentioned, there's a title, a message, and a view controller. The first thing we want to do is add both of these to the view controller's view. So I'm going to say target view is, let's make this like this. We're going to say view controller dot view. We want the frame of the background view to be entirely covering the target view. So we're going to say background view dot frame is target view dot bounds. And we also want to, of course, add it as a subview to target view. And let's do this because that's optional. We're going to say guardlet. Otherwise, we're just not going to show a alert. Get rid of that optionality. And let's now animate this background view, which is like the dulled out black colored view to animate in. So we're going to say UI view animate with duration. And we can put a duration as a constant up above in this constant block that we added, but we're just going to hard code this to be 0.25 for now. And the animation is going to be background, or we'll say self.backgroundView.alpha is going to be constants .background alpha 2. And let's just pause here and hit Command R and build and run. And actually, before we do that, we also need to call this function here. So when we tap the button, we are going to instantiate a custom alert, which is the myAlert class. And then on this custom alert, we can call the show function that we've created. And again, it wants a title, message, and a view controller. So the title is going to be Hello World. Message will be this is my custom alert that is shown. And view controller will be self. So essentially we are instantiating this and we're calling the function that should show a custom alert on the given screen. Hit Command R one more time. And if we hit this, you notice that the screen did in fact dull out. Notice it doesn't blur out. We could do a blur as well with a custom blur visual, but we're just going to stick to the dull for now. It really depends on your preference. But now let's actually work on creating the alert view and then animating that in from the top. So let's go back to this function, and in here, before we actually do this animation, we should set up the alert view to be shown. So we're going to say the alert view up here is going to be the container. So first and foremost, we're going to say target view, add subview, alert view, and we want to give this alert view a size. So sizing is a little tricky because we want to make sure the alert view is big enough to hold the labels that will show the title, the message, and the button to dismiss. Now, we're going to start by just creating the labels with a fixed width and height, and I'll also mention how to make it dynamic along the way. So let's create those labels before this. So we're going to say let title label is a UI label with a frame. We're going to give it a CG rect with a XY width and height. And let me line break these to keep them all on screen. So the X will be 0, the Y will be 0, the width will be the width of the alert view. So let me actually bring this up here, and we're going to set the alert set the width of the alert view in a second. So this is going to be alert view.frame.size.width, and the height we'll say is 80. And after this, we want to say alert view add subview title label. And we want to set the title label's text to be the title, which is again this inbound parameter for this function. And I'm also going to center the text in this title label like so. And before we actually move on, let's give this guy a frame. So we're going to say the frame for this is again XY width and height. Now, something important to keep in mind is the Y initially should be negative because we want this to be off screen vertically, and we're going to animate this alert view in. So the X, let's just hard code this to be 40. The width is going to be target view.frame.size.width minus 80, so horizontally centering it. The height we'll say is 200, and the y, let's actually make the height a little higher. Let's make the height, let's do 300, and the y is going to be negative 300. And we're already adding it as a subview, so this should be sufficient for the alert view. We've added the title label. I'm gonna copy and paste this for the message label, and let's make sure we update all these variable names. Message label, message label, message label, message, which is again the inbound parameter. And let's also update the XY width and height for this. The Y will be 80. The height will be, let's see, we've got 300 here. The title label is 80. That leaves 220. And our button's going to be 50. So 220 minus the 50 leaves us with 170. And we can say the text alignment for the message label is left. And more importantly, let's make sure that the text in the message label can line wrap. So we're going to say number of lines is 0. And let's do this before we assign the text. And we should now only need the button. So let's say button is a UI button with a frame, and it's going to be XY within height. And the X is going to be 0. The Y will be alert view.frame.size.height minus 50. Height is 50. And the width of the button is alert view.frame.size.width. Let's also add this as a subview of alert view. So button and button set title. We're going to say dismiss for normal. And we're going to say button at target self. The action will be this over here. So prefix this objective C so we can use it as a selector. And in here, you can do pound selector. And the event will be touch up inside. So before we actually fill all of this out, let's update our animation to also now bring in the alert view, and then we'll take a look at how to dismiss it. So we have this animation block going on already over here for the dulled out background. What we want to update this to is also have a completion parameter, which takes a Boolean of once this first animation completes. So we're going to say done in, and once the dulling out animation completes, we want to do another animation, and that animation will bring in the alert view. So we can delete this, and let's put that on one line. And the way we want to animate this alert view in is by changing its frame. So the simplest way to do this is by saying self.alertView.center is going to be targetView.center. So this will essentially have the alert view come down from the top and be centered. And this should suffice for what we want to do. So hit Command R, and let's see what we get. So we're going to hit this. We see that the background gets dulled out, and we have our alert that flew in. We've got our title label here. Looks like we don't have our button or our message. So let's see what we forgot to do or missed. So we have the title label. We need to update this too. So add subview, message label, and I think we forgot to add this as a subview. No, we have it right here actually. So button, and this looks good to me. Height minus 50. Let me set a color to the title. Maybe the default isn't blue like I remember, so we're gonna set it to be link. Hit Command R again, hit this, and awesome. We have our button, we have our message. Now you can notice the message is centered, and it's actually a little too tall, this alert container. But if we give a longer message from the caller, So if I take this and copy and paste it a few times, you should see that it will line wrap and be contained in the alert view, like so. And now when we hit this, we want to dismiss. So that's actually super simple. We simply want to do the animation again and then basically get rid of these two subviews. So the way we do that is by copying this whole thing, and we want to basically do the inverse. So first we want to animate the alert view back to its initial starting frame. So I'm going to be lazy and just copy and paste this. So let's paste that there. And actually, we don't want to animate it back to its starting frame. We want to animate it down. So we could, in theory, animate this back to the starting frame, but we want it to go down towards the bottom. And the other problem you'll notice here is target view now is not available because it's a local reference in this function. So what I'm going to do is add a private var called my target view, and it's going to be a UI view optional, and we are going to say my target view is target view. Now this is a global, and we can use it in this other function down here. So in here, let's say guard let target view is my target view, else we are going to return. This becomes available now. Now again, the y, we don't want this to be the negative. We want this to be the height of the target view. So this will animate it down. And then after this alert animates down, we want to dull out the background view. So in here, you want to say self.backgroundView.alpha is 0. And finally, once both of these animations are done, we want to get rid of these subviews. So I'm going to say self.alertView removed from superview. And again, the same thing for the background view, removed from superview. So that should be everything we need to do. This video has gotten a little longer than I anticipated, as usual, but let's hit Command R to build and run, and then we'll wrap up in a few minutes. So if we hit this, we get our alert coming in, and when we hit the button, nothing happens, and it's because, oh, I see. So it's because actually we said on the button that the target is self. And in this case, because the caller of this entire custom alert is the view controller, it's trying to look for the function down here, this function, on that view controller class. So what we need to actually do is implement this function on the caller. So we're going to say that func, put that there. And we want to basically manually call that dismiss function on the myAlert class. So let's take that and make it a global. And now on here, we can say this dot dismiss alert. And again, if you recall, dismiss alert is the function that we implemented down here, which basically unwraps the target view and then does the animate away. So hit Command R one more time. Hopefully that should be the only issue. Hit this and our alert disappears. So let's see that a few more times. And that's about it. You can use this custom alert any view controller like I mentioned. The benefit of the way that we've built it is now that you have this one single object here, you can call this show alert, passing in a different message and title each time, and it'll create your objects. And then when you call the dismiss, it'll not only animate it away, but it'll also remove those views from the hierarchy to clean up your view and memory. So that's basically it. That is how you can create a custom view with some of your own animations. If you haven't done so already, make sure you smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. If you enjoyed the video and you're new, hit that subscribe button. Comment down below if you have any suggestions, questions, hit any issues. I reply to every single comment within a few days at the absolute max. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.